Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Jeremy Geelan for SYS-CON TV here at the 5th Cloud Expo. We're in New York City. We have with us Marty Gauvin, the founder, the president and the CEO of Virtual Ark, one of our biggest sponsors and one of our most intriguing sponsors. Marty, welcome. Coming from so far away, coming from Australia, yet already being global, that's very cloudy.
Oh, absolutely, and Jeremy, it's very good to be here. One of the fundamental elements of the way that we've set out to create Virtual Ark is to create an organisation where we eat our own dog food. We're an organisation that believes fairly strongly in the cloud, and particularly in its ability to handle the enterprise load.
And so that's a strong message in what we want at Cloud Expo.
Yes, absolutely. And so our starting point for this was to say, well, so what kind of organisation are we trying to build? We've built an organisation where when you turn up for work on your first day, in fact, in many cases you don't turn up for work, it actually gets couriered to you, you get a backpack. Within that backpack is everything that you need in order to create head office. Not just your office, head office.
Right. So you could answer the phone, the incoming phones maybe to the company?
You can answer the incoming phones, you can control any of the applications the business needs, the intranet, the website, the finances, ordering, receiving, customer engagement, customer relationships, all from what's in that backpack and the applications on the cloud.
And you really are doing that, you're not making this up?
We absolutely are doing that. We do not own a server, and hopefully we'll never need to again.
Right. Which is really quite an inflection point for those of us who are like haltering behind in the world, not being as far-seeing as you. But this is just going to become a given in the future, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how many people need to own a telephone exchange or a power station these days?
Not so.
Yeah.
So what do we do? Virtual Ark was a great name, but what do we do to orient people who haven't heard of you yet? They're going to hear a lot more of you, and I would like them to remember, actually, I saw him interviewed once, and I knew then that this was going to be a big play. How can we help foment exactly that? Because you're a bit of a big thinker, aren't you, even personally?
Certainly like to be. One of the things that I've set about doing is I guess working out what I like to do. What I like to do is to have ideas and think of things that are going to be interesting. I don't like starting businesses that have immediate competitors. I'd much rather have the competitors follow me to wherever I'm going to. And so to that end, Virtual Ark is actually my 4th business that I've begun. I've also started my 5th, which is operating at the other end of the spectrum, running data centers to house cloud operators.
So you're actually not... So this is where I say that you're a bit of a big thinker, and then I think you say...
This is absolutely something that I like to think about what I enjoy, what I'm good at, and that really for me is about starting new businesses. Virtual Ark is actually the 4th business that I've started, right. And I've now gone and started a 5th that I'm running in parallel, which is a business that provides the other end of the spectrum, the data centers to house the cloud.
So not just a serial entrepreneur, but a parallel entrepreneur, a whole new concept.
Absolutely, and I think that while it has certain challenges, it also has massive rewards.
And there are synergies, mental and all other types of synergies.
Absolutely, and one of the things I like to do is run a business which is people-oriented. One of the great synergies is that it's actually meant that I can effectively double the number of people that I've come across that I believe I want on my bus, that I can slot into a framework. Exactly right.
And when you say you start a business, you said Virtual Ark is premised upon there being, a space between other people's businesses that wasn't being, I'm assuming that.
Yes.
So what was that? Let's share that with people. What was it that you've seen and gone, oh, that's what nobody's looking at?
Absolutely. The cloud has tremendous opportunities to run all software. And the focus of the cloud in its early incarnations has been on new developers who would develop new applications, and that's been extremely successful. But if you look at the 98% of software that is not on the cloud,
the legacy stuff.
This is all the legacy stuff. This is the stuff that's been running for 5 or 10 or 15 years in large enterprises. They know it, they trust it, they've debugged it. That's the stuff they want to see running in the new, flexible, efficient environment that the cloud delivers. that's the opportunity for Virtual Ark. And we've actually seen this as such a big step. We're calling this third generation outsourcing. This actually goes beyond, you know, how do I break my applications up and run them on different infrastructures in different outsourcing companies, and now going to the point where I can take those applications, put them on the cloud, and gain total flexibility.
Right. Now, is this one of these circumstances where roads create journeys? I'm thinking that you probably haven't, people haven't been bashing down your door saying this is what we want. It sounds to me like you've gotten ahead of it and said, this is such a no-brainer. If I were able to enable that, I mean, we are talking about the better mousetrap. We are talking about every company of a certain size saying, I am one of the 98%. Yeah. Please do that you do that no one else has talked to me about.
Exactly right. We are talking about an IT services business that is in the United States worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And this is a situation where everybody is being locked in for 3 or 5 or 10 years. Why?
Right. So that's your second generation outsourcing.
Yes.
It has a term as one of the conditions.
Yes.
You're saying that's so unelastic, so uncloudy. Why are you putting up with that?
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, why should you be stuck with the same service levels for 3 years when, in actual fact, you need your service levels to be different on the last day of the month,
right,
or at 8 a.m. on a Friday morning?
Right, because this is the very nature of the cloud. So
yes, exactly.
Very uncloudy about. No, it's interesting. So how are we going to reach out? I know you've got partners already in some no-time flat, so that does tend to validate what we're saying. That once you hear this, you go, well, when do we start?
Yes.
What kind of people have you lined up? And you know, it's not lined up, is it? It's you know, interfacing with.
That's right, and it's really for us about partnering with the ISVs, partnering with the people who've created these enterprise applications, so that we can then go together to their customers, both existing and new customers. Because this is very valuable for the ISVs as well, because one of the great features of the cloud is it doesn't have any geographical boundaries. If you're an ISV that's operating in Israel or in Germany or in Canada, and you want to sell your product outside those geographies, then the cloud offers an excellent opportunity for you to be able to do so.
Yeah, when you're running a business like this, you know, we've talked about, it's so easy for me to sit here and talk about scaling technology, scaling IT, but you are scaling a business, not just the IT side of it, rapidly. Has this sort of move to the cloud helped you mentally with that, with working with people who see, well, I suppose there aren't any barriers anymore to this massive rapid expansion because it's a bit like, well, cloud computing.
Absolutely, and the interesting thing for us is to then work with our ISV partners on ways, it ends up coming down to the commercial issues and our experience in helping them overcome those. Most ISVs that have not moved to the cloud, it's not actually been the technology. What stopped them is, how do I reward my salespeople? How do I, sustain my revenue? When there's this whole shift in terms of giving the end customer choice. We've got the expertise, and in actual fact have gone through this exercise now with a number of our ISV partners, of taking them through the kinds of breaking down of the usage-based billing model. So you're charging per seat hour or per transaction or some smaller unit, which ties into the end customer's value creation. They're going to make money when a transaction happens or something like that. So they're much happier, much more able to pay for the outsourced service, pay for the software in that kind of a circumstance, because the link to value is clear.
Now, what I'm hearing here, Martin, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm thinking when people really understand the cloud, they might say, well, cloud is almost the fabric for IT innovation, and you've gone way beyond that, and you've gone, no, it's the fabric for business innovation. It was almost like the rest of us are missing the point and thinking it's it's an IT evolution, and you've gone, yeah, that, but now let's do something interesting, which is what it then enables. Is that really what's allowing you to move faster than most people?
I think so. The cloud is about infrastructure. Software as a service is about software. I'm definitely taking it the next step, which is then about providing a service. This is a managed service that is provided on a pay-as-you-use, totally flexible way. And then from there, taking it to the ultimate extent is really about saying, really, why should there be any lock-in in a world where we're capable of providing the infrastructure and the software in any way we like? You shouldn't be tied to any way of operating. I mean, there are many examples of this in the world already. I mean, you don't catch the same taxi every morning. You just hail one.
Right.
And so why shouldn't the rest of the world work that?
Just in time everything.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, this was just in time video. I'm really glad we snatched you. I know you're doing a million things. We're competing against all sorts of noises and people, so I'm going to give in to that. But look, let's imagine somebody wants to catch up with Virtual Ark, either through the website, which is easy, but through something you're doing or something you've influenced or something you're proud of, something you can point to. What should we say to people?
Virtual Ark is really about Virtual Ark is really about transforming the ways in which organisations and people engage with the way in which their sort of IT lives operate, and in sort of progressing that shift, we're about creating new kinds of organisations and new kinds of ways for people to engage. So what this does, it means that we're very keen for people to be looking to find us, whether they want to be a partner, be a customer, be an employee, and continue that progression.
If you, watching this on SYS-CON TV, are an innovator at this kind of level, reach out to Virtual Ark, reach out to Marty Gauvin, and I don't think you'll regret it. Thank you so much for talking with us here on SYS-CON TV, and thank you for following us out there on the World Wide Web.